Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin True, and joining me today, he's running on nothing but angst and Heinz Ketchup packets. It's Justin Housman.
Hi, Colin. How are you?
No, angsty. More angst.
Ah,
more angst.
this is me, angsty. I'm, boy.
I've seen you on Twitter. I know you can get there.
I can't. I'm just worried I'm not going to have enough energy. I get to pop open a Heinz.
I'm so excited to talk about that. And today on the show, we're going to be running through our favorite headlines that come out of the outdoor community and industry over the past week, including a very special one about Heinz Ketchup. But first, it's November 17th. We made it to Friday. And that means it's time for America's favorite podcast segment, What's Justin Doing This Weekend? Presented by Long Weekend Coffee. So, Justin, what are you doing this weekend?
I'm drinking, Colin. Colin,
You getting wasted?
This is a drinking weekend. It's been a week. It's supposed to rain a shitload tomorrow. So I think what I'm going to do is enjoy some time in my glamping setup I got in the backyard, my big old canvas tent. Just listen to the pitter-patter raindrops.
Is that a year-round setup? No,
It's
that was a
be.
summertime
gig. I'm rolling with it. Like, it seems fine. It's rained a couple times here. Nothing crazy. Although last night we had lightning and thunder, which was super fun.
Backyard glamping, a little booze.
There's waves. I'm going to surf as soon as this podcast is over.
There we go.
Officially, it's my Friday, or it's my weekend. This week has sucked ass. So I'm on weekend time right now. So and I'll drink some coffee.
Well, if you're going to drink some coffee, you should go with Long Weekend Coffee, because What's Justin is Doing This Weekend is presented by Long Weekend Coffee. With 4 varieties of beans, Long Weekend Coffee is the go-to coffee for all your adventures, whether it's glamping, drinking, surfing, not just on the weekend, though. Head to longweekend.coffee, shop around, and at checkout, enter promo code ROCK10 to get 10% off your first order. Long Weekend Coffee. More weekend, please. Well, before we get to headlines, we got to dip into the mailbag. I got one email from Luna in Los Angeles, who sent a note in regarding our conversation around Columbia's Star Wars-themed ski kit. A couple weeks ago, you and I chatted about that. I had some nasty things. Well, we both kind of agreed that Star Wars, let's say, is in a low place.
Yeah.
We're not, the franchise. Luna writes, I'm an outdoor enthusiast, and I really love the show. I love the way you try to hold the industry to account, but I do have a beef with some of your comments in the last show regarding Star Wars. I can't disagree that the franchise has taken some pretty mediocre turns, but to admit Andor, and to a lesser extent Rogue One, from your blanket dismissal is disappointing. I mean, if that's the depth of your Star Wars, I think she means Star Wars knowledge, how can I trust your take on mountain bike suspension? I hope this is just an oversight. Keep up the mostly good work. I'll take this one. I'll start with this one. That was a major oversight. Andor is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. Part of the reason I love Andor is because it doesn't feel like it has anything to do with Star Wars, frankly. I think it's what makes it one reason makes it really good. And Rogue One is probably I would say it's my favorite Star Wars movie, but I would call it maybe the second best one after Empire. I think you probably feel similar.
I think it's better than Empire.
Whoa, hot take.
Yeah.
Rogue One over Empire.
It's also the only Star Wars movie that doesn't have an opening crawl, like the opening. The whatever besides, I don't know what you call it besides a crawl.
Did Solo have an opening crawl?
Oh, I don't know. I bet it does though. You know what?
I think Solo's a little
underrated.
Yeah.
Solo's good.
Yeah.
I like Solo. I've watched Solo a bunch.
Well, you said you had something to say about Columbia as relates to Star Wars.
I did. I do. And well, so we talked about their little Star Wars foray into clothing. But we've talked a lot of I don't know if I would say talk shit about Columbia, but we've definitely raised objections to some of their marketing choices with Star Wars and the Overland shoes. But I was thinking about this, right? It's funny.
Sorry, Columbia. Overland shoes just sounds funny.
I've told lots of people about it. They all snicker. I'm sorry, there we are. But I was thinking about how I'm not currently, but at some point today I will 100% be wearing some Mountain Hardwear stuff. I can't leave the house without some of their more recent pieces that they've been making, and they've been cranking out some pretty epic clothes. I have some natural fiber stuff from them now, almost like a work jacket that's hemp and some hemp pants. So nice. Dope. And I'd feel bad. I
think Hardware got a little vanilla. I think Columbia definitely is to blame for that. At different points over the last, I don't know, whenever they bought them, I'm sure it was in the 2000s at some point, but the early 2000s. But I think lately hardware does seem to have a little bit of a return to form. They do share sourcing departments, things like that. So there's, the corporate overlords definitely keeps tabs on what's happening at hardware. But I agree with you. I think hardware is an important brand.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time that hardware came out in the 90s, there was you had Marmot and North Face and Patagonia, and I'm sure I'm missing a few others, but it's like hardware was cool. I mean, they were the ones who were like, you could see all the expeditions up in the Himalaya and stuff like that, and the hardware tents and outfits were,
it's like
or the puffies.
Straight up legit. I mean, they still make like some of the best like full on like mountaineering suits of the world.
Well, we'll save our vitriol for some other folks later in today's episode. We got some things to get off our chest for sure. But first, we got it, like we talked about in our open today, Heinz Ketchup. Have you seen this? Heinz Ketchup is trying to create a trend amongst runners to take their ketchup packets along with them for quick calories. In their new campaign, the company claims their tomato ketchup is a good source of energy and that runners everywhere are using Heinz Ketchup packets on their runs. I think that's the made-up part. They're providing resources so you can arrange your run to find more ketchup packets while out running. I'm not verified if those are legit or not, but it's literally like the Strava thing, and it looks like a little like keystone, like
here's
their logo.
A Burger King. I mean, you know where they're going to find it.
It's like you're running by, it's like, oh, you can get a ketchup pack in there.
You're
if you
supposed to go in
there.
And take free ketchup packets? That's not how it works,
so.
Heinz.
Did anyone reach out to Burger King's corporate office?
Yeah, dude, they pay for those.
I mean, do they though? That's a good question.
Well, somebody does. I mean, you're right. Does. That's a good point. But also, like, I love how like condiments are just considered like free by everybody.
Just walk up.
Just like, I'll just like. That's not cool.
I went through a Raising Cane's drive-through the other night for my two Raising Cane's.
What the hell is that?
It's like a chicken nugget. I must be SoCal thing. I don't know, but it's
we don't really have
drive-throughs
right? Here.
So we go through, and like 3 times I get asked, do you want ketchup? Do you want ketchup? Do you want ketchup? We're taking it home. Like, no. We get home, there's like 6 packs of ketchup in the bag.
Oh, dude.
I'm like,
you know that's how it is. Have you ever worked in a job like that? Like, you're not listening. Like, you mean it. We were asking and you mean it.
Don't even ask me.
They meant it. They were like, do you want ketchup? Because if you do, we'll put some in. If you don't, we won't. And then you're like, whatever. At that point, though, they're doing 400 things, so they don't know.
The cult of ketchup.
Yeah.
I bet that Raising Cane's was on their running route for here in San Marcos. Like, you got to hit the Raising Cane's.
So
to get
do
your free
they
ketchup
actually?
pack.
They don't say anything in this little press release or whatever you're reading from about like actual like nutritional value and or caloric or whatever the hell is in it that makes.
Not really. I mean, at first I thought. Well, here's the funny thing. So it's obviously a publicity stunt, but I like ketchup when I was doing endurance sports. Actually, the last ultra I did, I made a whole bunch of egg and cheese burritos. I wanted real food at aid stations. Yeah. And there's a picture of me actually on the Rockfight website of my buddy putting ketchup on my egg and cheese burrito because it's just sugar and salt and everything else that you kind of need when you're out there. So I was like, I could see this being real. But then, of course, all the coverage, you do see nutritionists being like, oh, that's actually not what you need, and you need these carbohydrates, and it's short on that or whatever. So I think it is... But is it more appealing? Because there's times when almost like ketchup sounds more
than goo. Always.
Well, that's what I mean, right? You're not a gel guy.
Or not goo specifically, but like a gel. You know, I know goo the best. So I went through a gel phase where I kind of dug them.
Yeah.
And I take them with me on rides and stuff. But like, they're not that pleasant. I mean, I've never just. Yeah, of course, I'm sure I've eaten ketchup packets. Of course, I have. I probably would rather have a ketchup packet. I'm kind of surprised there's not a ketchup flavored energy gel.
Well, anyway, I respect what they're doing over there, Heinz. Nice job. I think it's pretty funny. Good for you for kind of trolling the endurance crowd for a little bit with your ketchup. All right, so next up, I know we weren't going to talk about this, and I gave Gearjunkie some credit earlier this week for taking this story off of their homepage, but as of this morning, it's their lead story, as it was announced that Caitlin Armstrong was found guilty of murdering cyclist Mo Wilson. But Gearjunkie to me has a real problem. I don't want to just make this into a bashing session, and we'll see if this even makes the final cut of this episode. But most of their stuff is light. It's a stuff and consumer like capitalist focused website. All of their content is mixed with a high amount of sponsored content. It's really hard to kind of take them seriously if it comes to a serious tone. It's in their name. It's Gearjunkie.
Right.
Like. So their homepage is bizarre because they have this giant murder verdict story sitting on top of a knife gear review, a guide on how to give a wristwatch, a review of the new Hyundai Santa Fe, and then the best gifts for hunters in 2023. And if you just Google the trial, the verdicts showing up on CBS, New York Times, NPR, Fox,
You're going to get better information.
Yeah. I mean, it's on Outside's website.
You don't need any of that because who gives a shit?
Well,
whatever.
That's true, but it's like that's where you see the verdicts for murder trials.
Yeah.
So I just feel like they just shouldn't do this at this point. And I don't know. I don't really know if I even have a so what. Maybe I shouldn't just go to their website or include their content for the show in the future. But it really is off-putting to me. Back to the reason we talked about this a couple of weeks ago.
Well, I don't know if they have a problem because I actually presume that Gearjunkie is doing really, really well. I just, knowing the way that the internet works today and affiliate sales and all that stuff, I have a feeling they're probably doing pretty
crushing
good.
It, yeah.
So I don't know. Like, I mean, I agree with you. It's a weird, but I mean, we talked about it before. I don't really understand why this is an outdoor person's story. Like, I guarantee you, someone else got murdered in the same week that also rides a bike.
Right.
You know? Like, I mean, I'm not to disparage Mo or anything like that.
No.
I mean, like it's a horrific situation, but it's
and
just
it's
a
being
weird
covered.
thing to
It's on
vote
all
for.
of those news outlets I just mentioned.
And like, I get why Outside would. That's like their bag, you know. But it is a bit weird. I agree with you. I mean, I'm sure that there were more important, impactful things that happened this week in like environmental legislation or something that like you could have covered instead. But you know, that's like we've talked about a million times. There's only so many things you can say and cover, and if you're trying to shovel content into the furnace, you know, like to keep things going, I mean, it makes some sense. And I don't think, I mean, like, but also look at Gearjunkie, like it's like essentially a clearinghouse for new stuff coming out. I mean, they do try to be like objective about reviews, but like I don't think that's really why. I doubt that's why people actually go there. You go there because you're stoked on new gear and you're seeing what's coming out. I don't think there's a hugely critical like eye to their, you know, for their like readers. So I imagine most people are just like, oh, interesting, and scrolling past that and going back to knife reviews, you know. So I don't know, it got some eyeballs.
But I think you just cracked it for me, and thank you, right? Because I'm looking at the site right now, and under topics, right, it's apparel, camping, fitness, knives, news, hunt and fish, technology, snowboarding, biking, climbing, footwear, motors, hiking, paddling, skiing.
That's everything. Jesus Christ.
But that's everything stuff related. Okay, there's not sustainability, manufacturing,
right,
like corporate news,
yeah,
you know, earnings calls, right?
That's
it's
not
not a
for.
news website. So why is this the one? I mean,
that is weird,
right? I mean, I think that's ultimately what's rubbing me the wrong way here. And Frank, like, I'll be honest, the only reason I bringing it up at all is because the other day I was nice to them, and I'm like, hey, I'm glad you took that down. And then it is today, front page, and it pissed me off a little bit.
I would say that something like I think it was a dude that like was preparing to kill a bunch of people at that Smith Rock climbing.
Yeah, where's that
thing? Like that seems like a bigger outdoor story, even for like.
Yeah, that was a climber going to potentially murder other climbers.
And I also could be wrong. I didn't look at it. So maybe they did. I doubt Gearjunkie is doing like actual independent journalism here. I imagine they're just reporting what they're reading on CBS. I doubt they're sending people to the trial. Like, I don't know. Maybe they are. But
good point.
It's a bit weird. It's like Black Friday's coming up. You know, like you probably have more Gearjunkie-ish things to cover. I don't know.
It just stands honestly, like a sore
thumb. Why certain outlets cover the things they do will always interest me because I worked in media for so long. A lot of times that's literally just like the person who's in charge thinks it's super interesting. They have a bugaboo about it. And everybody else is like, right. You know, like we used to, that happened at Surfer all the time. Like, why the hell are we, or honestly, probably other people thought about that when I'm writing about stuff. Like, who gives a shit, dude? But it meant something to me, you know? So
just in this kind of media landscape where you have to curate how you get information if you don't want to be overwhelmed, right? If you're going to engage in the internet, it comes at you like a fire hose, right? And this was my takeaway from the Trump administration and the coverage of it. It's like, okay, I'm no longer going to allow news to be thrown at me. I'm going to go get it when I want it. And so if I go to Gearjunkie, it's going to be like, oh, what's the newest thing that's out here? I don't want a murder thrown in my face. I mean, it'd be like if I went to AJ's website, like, and you guys were covering stuff like this, I'd be like, oh, it's not why I'm here, you know?
Totally. I mean, I'm sure Gear Patrol is not doing stories on the Mo Wilson trial. You know. Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, I'll say it again. Please, Gearjunkie, do better. I typically like going to your site, and lately it's been making me angry. Next thing I want to talk about. Did you see this thing this week? The Pinkbike Podcast had an episode that apparently they're going over some pet peeves, and they said a few things that kind of raised the hackles of this YouTuber, this guy Loam Ranger.
I did only because you sent it to me. I do like.
Come on,
I
man.
like
We're trying
Loam
to make
Ranger.
it look like, you know.
I mean, I like Loam Ranger because he's always given really positive reviews to bikes I like. So like I click on his site, but no, I listened to it. So he's a YouTuber, I guess. I actually didn't really realize he was such a big YouTuber. I've always just read his content on his blog. bike reviews and stuff like that. But so he gets annoyed because he listens to the Pinkbike podcast, where they are giving their pet peeves about what, mountain bike content.
Yeah, or just in general, mountain bike pet peeves.
They basically accuse people of becoming YouTube personalities if you can't compete at a high enough level and you're into a sport.
Yeah,
right?
or shooting,
that's kind
filming
thing.
your ride and then uploading the whole thing to YouTube or whatever.
If you're not, Danny McCaskill or whatever, right? They're or them presumably. I mean, so this guy gets he plays a little section from the podcast that they put out and claims to have lost sleep over it. Gets super mad because he feels like he doesn't say it as much, but it seems like he feels like they're talking about people like him.
Yeah,
just kind of marginal rider. He's probably no doubt he smokes me on a mountain bike. I guarantee he's way better than me, but I'm sure he feels a little bit hey, I'm not a beginner out here. What's interesting to me is it raises the question of who's allowed to be either an expert on something, right? Do you have to be a super fast mountain biker to be an expert on mountain bikes? He took umbrage about if you aren't a top level pro, you don't really have you shouldn't have a platform. I don't think they really mean that. I mean, you and I say things all the time that I don't think we mean on this show. I can't imagine gun to their head these guys would think that. But I do think it's interesting in a world where everybody can upload anything they want. You don't have to be there's a really popular surfer, hugely popular surfer named Ben Gravy.
Oh yeah.
And he does I don't really enjoy his channel. Just it's boring to me. But he, goes all over the place surfing novelty waves on soft tops. He's a good surfer, better surfer than me, but he would never win a contest at even a low level event. He's not just an absolute ripper. He's got a giant following, huge following. So what? Is it not worth watching? Because he's not, Dane Reynolds. I don't know. It's a weird thing. And if you start going down that road, you're going to find out that most of the people that you read or watch or whatever in the outdoor world aren't pros. I'm not a professional at anything I talk about.
I think the interesting thing I think you just said there too about I think Ben Gravy is a good example because Ben Gravy has found a following because he has uploaded a champ, an actual YouTuber. He's a YouTuber more than he's a surfer, right? And he's cultivated his personality and his audience, and he has gotten really good at hosting these videos. I think podcasts are the same thing. Everybody thinks it's about what you're talking about. It's sometimes it's about
no,
you.
It's personality based. Right. Do you have juice?
And I'm not sitting there pumping our tires saying that we're the best at this, but I think we found a following so far because people they want to hear what you and I have to say. And I think it's the same thing here where if you're going to criticize, first of all, it's kind of a nothing burger. I went and listened to the whole podcast. There's nothing to get upset about. They didn't say anything that really, when you listen to the whole thing, I was just never in a million years would have thought that anybody would have gotten upset about this. So I do look at you, Loam Ranger, if you're listening to this and be a 10-minute video telling me you lost sleep, okay, maybe he touched the nerve a little bit because of your background. Get it, but it really wasn't that bad. That being said, why do people come to your channel? Because they want to hear what you have to say about stuff. If there's anything to be critical about the people who go out and film their backyard ride and put it up on YouTube, it's just that it's boring. If you can rip, even if you're a good mountain biker, I can't. To your point, you were saying, I think before we started recording about watching videos of good surfers. At some point, I'm going to get bored. I respect the skills. Hey, that's great. Wow, you're really good at this. At some point, I'm okay, can we go do something else now? You can be a great mountain biker if you're just putting a ride of you riding on a trail. That is not that interesting. So
I would also assume that Pinkbike's single biggest traffic drivers are their Friday fails, where it's just people falling off their mountain bikes. I guarantee that smokes everything else they do.
It's the only thing I watch consistently. My kids and I watch it together. We have a ball. That
is the most amateur thing that you guys do, and it's probably your biggest traffic driver.
Yep.
So I don't know. I don't know. I think there's something, the flattening of the internet in terms of flattening hierarchies. We're still figuring this out.
Yeah.
Who it used to be someone like Ben Gravy would never have existed before the internet, obviously.
Clearly.
But it used to be there was a little club and it was hard to get into, and now everybody can get in the club and people are still trying to figure it out. What does it mean? What does it mean to be an editor at a very influential and popular enthusiast media platform if random dudes can beat you on YouTube? What does it mean anymore? What are any of us doing anymore?
Well,
or why do we care?
And that's kind of the thing where I think I call it a nothing burger because like there's caveat after caveat on the podcast of like, we're just talking about our pet peeves. Don't take any of this seriously.
These aren't op-eds that we're like putting out.
But even if they did, it's also like, why are you complaining about it? Because all those shitty ride videos probably have like a dozen views on YouTube. And I'd say the same thing to Loam Ranger. It's like, okay, I get it. You were that person who had started uploading it, so you took it a little more personally. Do you really need to call out Pinkbike? Yeah, right.
I mean, it's his job.
It is. Yeah. But also, do you really need to make a 10-minute video calling them out or just go make even better content than Pinkbike is making? Right. Because I think Pinkbike, except for Friday Fails, that's a little stale. Like, I don't need to see another Northwest Whistler mountain bike video from Pinkbike. You know, there are other places and environments you can ride in Pinkbike besides the Northwest.
Pinkbike is such a good example of something I desperately wish we could figure out how to do, which is just make websites once a month.
Yeah, right.
Like, I really do think everybody who has ever, like, granted, this is, I'm sure, like, kids that are 13 would be like, you idiot, why? Like, they never, if you didn't grow up with magazines, this won't make any sense to you. But there's got to be a way to where we can just hold back. Like, you don't need to
like
put
5
stuff
times
up
a month,
every day.
they make something really cool, basically, and then the rest of it is just noise. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, just like save up all your content for 30 days and then put out a freaking great website. And then maybe you only let people have access to it for a certain amount of time. I don't know how it would work.
The only adventure videos like I watch consistently usually are like Cody Townsend's figured it out because like I'm not a skier, but every episode of the 50 is interesting to me because it's cool. It's a mission-based thing. We know he's trying to accomplish something. He's really good on camera. He's good at it's not a hardcore, I'm a badass style thing. He gets into the dangers of the backcountry, the decision making. It's interesting, even if you don't like going in the mountains or skiing or anything. There's another channel called Mediocre Amateur. There's a bunch of guys in Utah. They make really great 10-minute little videos about their adventures. And I see that as almost like, oh, I'd like to go. Oh, they're in Switzerland. Sweet. That's cool. Let's go check that out. I think most mountain bike and surf and climbing, these videos that come out of those worlds, which are sports I like to do, are just not that interesting. And to your point, Pinkbike is a great example of this. Those guys obviously know what they're talking about. You listen to that podcast, these are knowledgeable mountain bike people. They understand all the things about bikes, the brands, how they operate, how they're supposed to operate, what's good, what's bad. But it's information overload on mostly boring stuff that I don't care about.
I just realized in a lot of ways, I am those Pinkbike guys. And I hadn't thought about it before. And it's not so much like, I don't mind seeing poor content in terms of like, if you don't surf or ride a bike well, that doesn't matter. I just honestly, and I'm about to pull a Pinkbike moment where like, if someone pulled this out of context, I'd sound like a raging piece of shit. But like, I just don't really care about your opinion if you're not on my same level as a surfer, if that makes any sense. So like, it's more because your experience and mine are not remotely similar. Right. And it's like you going, I don't really get it. It's like, I'm not saying I think you're a bad person or you shouldn't surf, but it's like, well, fuck, we have nothing to talk about here then because we're not on the same.
Yeah, look, and if you spend all day at Pinkbike and you're doing review after review and you're producing stuff and you're making all this content and then like you flip on YouTube and it's 16 videos of somebody putting up a 35-minute like descent off of a tiny little hill in their backyard, I'd probably get irritated too. If I saw that. That would be a pet peeve of mine, I would think.
I'm getting heated just thinking about it, actually.
Yeah, it's weird. I think the human nature part of this, and I think that this is probably the larger thing with the outdoor community, like, is all this stuff is supposed to be like, it's friendly and nature and all these things about like getting back and going outside, but we're still human in the day, and some stuff's going to get under our skin, and what gets under my skin might be different than what gets under your skin. I don't know if the Loam Ranger guy needs to make a 10-minute video talking about this. I really expected the podcast to be really inflammatory. I expected to walk away going, wow, man, that was fucking low blow towards like the amateur YouTuber. And it was just nothing there, to the point where I'm like, this guy made a 10-minute video and edited it and uploaded it over this. So
hey, we've been talking about it for at least 15 minutes.
Yeah. Exactly. So I don't know, man. Sure the outdoor world still little bizarre at times.
Yeah.
Well, man, that's all I got. Anything? Any other headlines from your end?
No.
All right. Well, before you turn us off, please click that follow button to follow the show on whatever podcast app you're hearing us on. Maybe leave us a review, a little 5-star rating. It's the best way to help the Rock Fight grow. You can also write into the Rock Fight by sending your emails to myrockfight@gmail.com. Give our old pal Tacoma Phil some company in the inbox. Justin, what do you got to plug? What's going on?
I mean, it's the same thing last few weeks. AJ 31's out, or it's about to be out. It's pretty good.
Yeah? What'd you write for it?
It's a good one. What do I got in there? I got a nothing long. I do the front of the book stuff, so a nice fun piece on whether the the Siberian Tunguska explosion from 1908
you mentioned that before. I can't wait to read
actually a black hole.
Yeah.
Some fun the Mementos, Notes, and Fragments is pretty fun this time. The little tidbits at the beginning, that sort of stuff. But it's just a great issue. I mean, it has like one of the best pieces I've read in a long time about riding a mountain bike on the entire Iditarod Trail.
You can also hear you on the Adventure Journal podcast, so check that out. Get more Housman in your life.
But not too much.
Find Justin at his local beach break. He'll not talk to you. It'll be great.
Goddamn right, I won't.
All right, well, the Rock Fight is a production of Rock Fight LLC. For Justin Housman, I'm Colin True. Thanks for listening. And now the part you've been waiting for. It's time to head into the sunset with my friend and yours, Krista Makes from Less Than Jake with the Rock Fight fight song. We'll see you next time.